Religion. What is it? In this video, we're going to cover what religion is, kinds of religions, and specific examples of religions in each of those categories of religions. Let's get started. I really don't like admitting this, but we don't know what religion is. I can tell you what we mean by religion, but that doesn't mean that you will have a complete definition, how to discriminate ideas between what does and does not count as a religion. And the reason for that is that there are so many different ways to think about this concept because this concept comes up in so many different aspects of our lives. Let's dig deeper. If you're studying theology, which is the logic of theos, God, supernatural stuff, then you would definitely be studying religion. When you're thinking theologically, you're thinking about supernatural beings. That's the stuff that you're studying when you're studying religion usually. But a theologian is assuming that there is a supernatural entity and then is trying to understand what we can know about that entity. But that's not all. When you're studying philosophy, you're in the field of trying to become wise about the nature of things. And a philosophical question is, what was the first cause? We have cause and effect in this world, right? We have motion in this world, right? So where did it all begin? What explains why there's something rather than nothing? In philosophy, you might start thinking about religion when you're thinking about why you are the way you are, or who you are, whether you make free choices, or where your values come from. When we're thinking about your psyche, it might also take you to studying religion. And if you're studying sociology and society and people and communities and cultures, it might also lead you to this question. These would be different lenses, like glasses. If you put on a theological lens and think about religion, you'd get one definition of what religion is. But if you take those off and you put on the philosopher's glasses and look at religion, you'd get a different definition of what that is. And then a psychological one, and then a sociological one, and then an economic one. Because religion also has aspects that have to do with what we should produce and our purpose and how we should spend our time and giving money to the church or the mosque. So things get complicated. What exactly is religion depends on what lens you're looking at this concept from. The word religion in English is coming from an old Latin word that had something to do with binding the human. Bind, think of something like an obligation. You are obligated to fulfill this, like a contract. Maybe religion is something like what you are bound to believe or do or refrain from doing. Given what religion you claim to be, there are restrictions of what you're allowed to do and not do according to that religion you claim to be. I mean, once you subscribe to a particular religion, it tells you what you should believe now, what you should do now, how you should view the world now, how you should view what's right and wrong now, when and why to celebrate certain festivals in small groups or in big communities, how to dress now, how to do your hair now, how to handle the dead, how to handle union. These are things that usually come out of a religion. And so when you believe in a particular religion, you are now bound to its codes, its standards, its laws, its rules. But not every religion has all the same kinds of restrictions. Let's look at different kinds of religions. There are the animistic religions. I'll just write R for religions. Animism is this view that not only human beings have a spirit or are owed respect. Animism is this view that just like people are alive, there are spirits in the mountains, in the trees, in the lakes, the ecosystem, and animals, for example. And Usually indigenous religions are animistic, but I'll just add that there are also indigenous, I have to look at this because I always spell that wrong, just like I did right now, indigenous religions. Not all indigenous religions are animistic. The indigenous and animistic religions are usually oral rather than textual. The Western religions are not religions that are out of the West. In fact, most religions come from the Eastern Hemisphere. The Western religions are Zoroastrianism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. Those four are all monotheistic religions, and they have a lot to do with one another. In fact, 3 of them share a history. There are also what's called the Eastern religions, and these are ones like Hinduism, Sikhism, Jainism, Shinto. And it's kind of confusing because you might be thinking the hemispheres or geography, and that's not what these distinctions really mean. There are also what's sometimes called simply non-theistic religions. And these are the religions that do overlap with the Eastern ones. These are enough like a religion, whatever that means, to get qualified as getting called a religion, but there's no God or supernatural being that is a deity that requires worship. For example, in Buddhism, for example, in Jainism, there is not a God, but there certainly is everything else that you would expect there to be for us to call it a religion. And this is why, again, the definition of religion is very hard to pin down. So here are a few kinds of religions. Looking at the indigenous religions in North America, here are some examples of religions. And then going to Africa, here are some examples of indigenous religions. If you've never seen Khetamism, that's the ancient Egyptian religion. If you want some religions that don't have a worship of God, here are some non-theistic religions from India. And here are some non-theistic religions from China. Here's a religion from India, which is an Eastern religion. And here are some examples of what's called Western religions, even though these religions are not from the Western Hemisphere. Monotheism means that your religion believes in mono, one, theos, God, the study of God, which is one. Examples of monotheistic religions here are Hinduism, which can be monotheistic, but it can also be polytheistic. So this one, it depends on how you consider Brahman's role, monotheistic or polytheistic. Polytheism means the belief in more than one God, or the study of believing in more than one God. So Hinduism can fall under both of those categories of religion. However, if you look at other religions like Islam, Islam can only be thought of as a monotheistic religion. How do we count these religions that don't have a supernatural deity that require your praise? We might call them either non-theistic. Some people say atheistic religion, and then that means that they are denying a belief in a supernatural being, but they still have a cultural set of beliefs and practices and views and moral codes and dress codes and all of the things you would think go into a religion. But then you would say, that's Confucianism. I want to learn about it in a world religions class, even though there's nothing supernatural in it. When you read the analytics or other Confucian or Taoist or Jain texts, even Buddhist texts, they are talking about salvation, about heaven, about nirvana, going above this natural world, but they don't talk about gods or goddesses. So that one's a complicated category, and hopefully this explains why religion is hard to define. Notice you might know a religion that is not on this board, and that's because this is not even 1/10 of the world's religions.